Boom. Make sure I got double recordings going. Looks like it went live and we're on the intro screen. Sick. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie, and we have a special guest joining us here today. We got Dre Miley on the line. What's going on, Dre?
Not much, man. Just finished up some sparring. I'm heading home. I'm pretty good myself.
Man, so listen, we got a lot to talk about. I mean, I've seen your face around the scene for a while now, and you actually got like one of the most interesting stories around, honestly, because I looked into your background, right? And what we got in your background, you come from a legacy of a family. You are a fighter with 3 children. You've been doing this for a minute. You fought people who are in the UFC, actually. And a lot of people will look at, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender series. A lot of people on the East Coast that I know go on there. They struggle. They have their hard times. They don't know the sacrifices that actually go in to fighting. And when it comes to being a father, and then you being a son, I mean, what does this name mean to you? Let me say something to you. What does this mean to you? Floyd Miley, VOL, returned a blocked field goal in UT's miracle at Southern Bend win over Notre Dame. What does that mean to you when you were a child coming up?
Well, I mean, it really didn't pay much for it. Growing up, I heard about it a lot. I was never big on like riding on my father's coattails. Like everybody was, you grow up being that kid. Your father did this, and you're just like, yeah, that's just how my dad is. That's just him being an athlete. So you never like go overboard with. At least I never did. It's part of being athletes and being around my entire family from both sides of my family. Because my mom was a basketball star. She did very well in basketball. She almost went to the WNBA herself. And my father, he almost went pro, and he had his UT thing going on. So it was one of those things that's like, it happens. That's where I come from. But everybody was all up in arms about it. It's like, oh, that's awesome. How do you feel? Same way you are. I was like, it's normal to me. So, and it helped a lot when I was playing football too. So he would come to the games, and we played different sides of the ball. He was a cornerback and I was a running back, and people would compare us to each other all the time. So it's always fun. It's always fun.
You say that, right? I've been doing this too long, though, Dre. I interviewed Roberto Duran Jr. You know who Roberto Duran is, obviously.
Of course I know who Roberto Duran is.
So I actually interviewed his son. And when I was getting ready for this interview, I learned a lot about who his son was and what he was trying to do. He didn't actually have a relationship with his father. His father wanted nothing to really do with his children being in combat sports. You pursuing this dream, you may say it didn't have an effect on you looking up to your father, but what does your father think about it? Because having that title over his head And we got a lot to talk. You have a very interesting story here. I mean, guys, get ready for one of the most interesting interviews you're going to hear here on Pure Evil MMA. This is what we live for. This is what MMA gets me out of bed for, are these kind of stories. And I'm bringing you one of the most inspiring stories out there. You thought Nick Newell's interview was inspiring. You thought Ian Heinisch's interview was inspiring. Bilal Muhammad, Valentina Shevchenko, Mayhem Miller. Wait till you hear about my boy Dre here. Like, your father looking down on you, you may not really try to come out and say that had an effect. But on your father looking at you and with the big title over his head and everything that he had to live up to, how does he feel about you as an athlete right now, being a father and having to sacrifice so much to reach your dreams? Like, how does this go?
My father, it took him a minute to wrap his head around, like, well, why do you want to fight, son? It's like, why? He's like, you lost your eye. Like, why would you want to sacrifice this? Like, I I don't want to play football because I lost all my scholarship offers because everybody completely backed off, and it was like, he's never going to be the same. He's not going to be that guy anymore, you know. And I had really good offers like back in the day to like go play in D2 schools and a few D1 schools, and
Everyone that's listening to the podcast right now is going, wait, hold on. What piece of this story am I missing? And let me fill you guys in. Maybe we should have actually started here. But for me to do this interview the correct way, I had to show you the actual struggle. It started as a child having his father being one of the local celebrities having to live up to a name. But this actually goes so much deeper right now. 17 years old. Let me say 3 words to you, Dre.
okay.
What does this location mean to you? Reed Spring Road at the border of Monroe and Loudoun County. What does that mean to you?
Oh, that's the road where my whole life changed right there. That was the biggest pivot in my life, and that was probably the moment where I did not think I was going to make it. I thought I was going to die.
So
I didn't
everyone
think.
listening to the
Yeah.
podcast right now at the edge of their seat going, what happened there? Did he lose his virginity and find out he was actually with an axe murderer? No. Dre, seriously, bringing up that name, that location that I did with the coordinates, I just got the chills. Can you bring us through what me telling you this location brings into your mind, your energy? You say it changed your life. You thought you were going to die. This moment actually showed a lot about who you are, because the research I've done, you were actually trying to help others, unfortunately, in this situation. Bring us through this night before this situation and let our viewers understand, because Dre, there's a lot of people that listen to Pure Evil MMA. I'm a recovering addict. I lost my girlfriend on the highway. She got hit by a car on her way to pick me up. I was on my way to go get her because she got a flat tire. My life changed in that moment. These are the stories I really like diving into so people really understand what it takes. There's a lot of people that go through situations, they don't want to get out of bed. They don't think they can do it. They go online, they hear how all these doubters out there, all these trolls that get into our heads. Let me bring you through Dre's story. Dre, bring us through this night and bring us through the emotions that it truly brings to you and how you felt before and then directly after. Can you kind of paint a picture and a scenario here at the border of Monroe, Loudoun County on Reap Spring Road at the age of 17?
Yeah. So I'm about a senior in high school at this point. You know, riding pretty high goat tails. I'm set on like going to college, playing football and stuff like that. I got a lot of offers. You know, I'm getting real jazzed up and talking to the town. Big colleges have came and look at me. Little colleges like, we were going to give you a full ride. And I'm going to do this school project with a friend of mine, well, a former friend of mine. And we're coaching my little cousin and my friend's brother's basketball team. So we go there in the morning, and something told me, it's like, hey, you should probably ride with them just to make sure like they get there safely or whatever. Because my friend at the time was a little bit of, he was a goofball. Like he took life very, very like loosely. So we're riding down the road, and he's taking this real curvy road, and it doesn't matter if it's wet, if it's dry. This road's been known to like take lives from people, and it's been known to change people's lives. We take this shortcut because it's like it's a straight shot to where we need to go. He misjudges a turn, and he runs right into a tree. Now, in the midst of like, we're maybe 50-ish yards, maybe more away from this tree. Uh, I look up because I'm texting my son's mother at the time, and I look up, and we're about to hit a tree. My cousin and the other young person in the back seat, they were flying towards the windshield because he slammed on his brakes really hard. He managed to swerve and only hit the passenger side. So I managed to catch them too from flying through the windshield. I used my left hand to block them and slam them back in the back seat. And by the time I turned my face to, redirect myself, I went headfirst into the dashboard. The vent from the clips from the vent, I ate that. It cut my eye from the back to the front, smashed my left face. I got pinned in the car. Everybody gets out safely on the driver's side. I'm the only one pinned in the car. And the one thing I do remember is my cousin freaking out. He's probably around like 8 at the time, like 8 or 9 years old at the time. He's freaking out. He's crying, and he's thinking I'm dead because I'm the closest thing to him as a brother. So I'm like his role model. Like I'm the biggest thing to him. And they pull me out, and like at that point, you're clinging to life. And I remember looking up at them, and it was like, don't tell nobody, like, whoop, I'm fine. And I'm trying to like pick myself up. I'm literally trying to push myself up. My body's not doing it. My brain is not doing it. Everybody's screaming and crying. They're calling 911, and I'm like, don't call nobody, don't tell nobody, I'm fine. And I'm still trying to pick myself up. I black out. Next thing I know, I wake up. One of my football coaches is over me, and he's, hugging me, and he's crying. He's freaking out. And like even now, like thinking about it, like I get choked up about it because you never know when you're going to go. And at that moment, I was like, I'm leaving this earth, and this is exactly what's written for me. Fast forward, I get to the hospital. Everybody is surrounding me. I'm bleeding out, and everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, why is everybody freaking out? Like, why is everybody crying? Like, well, I'm fine. And I look at the pillow, and my pillow is soaked of blood. It's bleeding out my face. My grandmother's freaking out. Son's mother's freaking out. My mom, she comes from Texas. She's on the plane like immediately as soon as that phone call happened. She's there. Everybody's freaking out. And I'm trying to play it off like, dude, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. So thinking about that, it's hard to think about. The day that I found out that I wasn't gonna be able to see, like I broke down. Like I've never broke down in front of my mom before, and she broke down. And my mom is probably the strongest person that I've ever met in my life. She broke down, and it's just like depression hit, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do anything ever in life. You're 17 at this age, and you got your whole life just ripped out from underneath you. So you're blind, you're never going to see again, and you're not going to be able to do what you felt at that time you're created to do. So even now, I still get teared up and still think about how blessed I am to be alive.
You say right now you're so blessed to be alive, but anyone going through that situation, listening to this story, if you put yourself in that position, waking up within a moment, just going out, just leaving the house, you could have been comfortable, chilling. You make a split decision and your life changes. Fight for you. It's been a really long fight for you. You're not just fighting in the cage because of this now. Before we get there, fighting the commission, fighting the state, just to fight in the cage. Before we get to this point, where were you months after that? And what was the moment, the person, the place, the thing that you heard that was almost angelic to you, where it gave you inspiration? For a lot of us, it's hard to get out of bed. Picturing your situation, what was the recovery like before you became an actual fighter? Not just a fighter in the cage, not just somebody trying to figure out what the mat is going to be able to teach them when they give the sacrifices. What
Yeah,
was
man,
the moment that you realized you were going to do something special no matter what?
I was a recluse, like really bad, into like a very sunken place. Like at that point, like I didn't want to go out. Like 17 years old, and I hadn't turned 18. I didn't turn 18 until I was in April. So this happened in January. So and I was out of school for about the last 3 months of school. Like they did not see me. Like I was on so much morphine and stuff at like I couldn't function. I really could not
You were
function.
an
And anytime
athlete
I
at
like
the time as well, correct?
yeah. Oh yeah. Everybody was already like, oh yeah, he's gonna go to college. He's gonna do blah blah blah. Like I set records. I broke records in high school, and everybody was just all excited about it. But then like those next few weeks afterwards, I started going around. Everybody started coming to the house. They was like checking on me, like, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? And I was like, I'm fine. You guys, I'm good. I was on morphine bad because they made me do it. I refused to take pain pills. I actually refused to do it. People would break down crying when they would see me in public. Just as they felt that bad, and like I would stay in my room. Like one of my closest friends to this day, like he's my godfather. Like he's my kid's godfather, and I'm his kid's godfather. And he talks to me today. He would come to me every single day. I'm like, you got to get out the house. Like we would sit in the room and play Guitar Hero to help me with my like depth perception and timing and stuff. Cause I lost everything. Like I lost my timing, I lost rhythm, I lost a lot of shit. And he would come in every day. He would bring me out the house. We would go outside. And the moment where I had to do something, my grandfather comes in the room and he's like, son, he's like, I know you don't want to do anything. I know your world's crashing around you, but you got to go out and do something. Like, you cannot sit in the house. It's like, this is not like you. You don't want to go do anything. You don't eat no more. You don't want to do anything. So you got to go out the house and do something. I don't care what it is, but you need to get out this house. And after months and months of like arguing with him and like, I don't feel right doing it, I came out the house, started feeling better about myself. And I stumbled on TV. Like I watch TV a lot, but for some weird reason, it was a local channel, and I hear Vince's name. It's like Vince St. Preux. Yeah. So I hear Vince St. Preux's name on TV, like, yeah, he fighting in Knoxville at the local such and such center. I was like, Knoxville. I was like, that's not that far from there. Like, that's not far from here. It's like I could like that's awesome. Like I didn't know that was happening, and it just kept popping up. And Knoxville Martial Arts Academy just kept ringing in my ear, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna pay attention to it. And like slowly but surely, I started like wanting to learn more about MMA. And UFC at this point was when they just bought Pride, and they were, you know, Rampage Jackson and Vanderlei Silva, and all those guys were just they're coming up, and Chuck Liddell, Rashad Evans, the Ultimate Fighter is a big time hit. And I've been around UFC like all my life. Like all my family, we box each other, we fight each other. It's just a normal thing. So like I stumble on it from like a mutual person. He was like, I can't do nothing for you, but I need you to come with me to this gym, and I need you to meet this guy named Eric Turner. And I was like, okay. I go there, and we meet. I meet him. The guy's like, this guy, this. He tells me about him. I meet him. Me and coach have a good talk with each other. And he's like, yeah, just see if you like class. And then next thing you know, I'm in there training every single day. I'm loving it, and like this was back in like the wild west of MMA. It's like it wasn't a structured. It was like you just come in, you're toughing it out.
And you
You would
bring up
learn a few
Coach
techniques.
Turner. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know his famous line which I kind of brought up before. You know, the mat is an altar. What you sacrifice is what you'll get, right? Is it something like that?
Yeah, that's 100% what he says. Yep. So he's been the guiding light through everything I've been through. Like I tell him all the time, it's like they like, oh, he's a coach. They're like, hell no. Like I'm like, that dude's a father figure to me. It's like he's pretty much raised me to be like, you have to think this way, you have to be this way. He's shown me how to take my disability and turn it into like a superpower. It's like it's ridiculous. He's like, this you don't have a left eye. We know that, but you can do this. He actually approached me about wanting to fight because I never wanted to fight. I was just like, oh, I had fun, and the people that was coming up over me was like Vince. We had a guy named Justin Fisher. We had Jason King was coming up at this time.
Oh, I've interviewed.
James Adcock.
I think I've interviewed him a long, long time ago. I had a couple of people from your gym. Now that you bring it up, I think at least two people. Somebody that was with OSP, like his best friend, started fighting. And what an inspirational story. When you actually see somebody achieve something around you, because listen, there's so much negativity around. It's hard to gain a positive insight for who you are because no matter what you're going through school, people are picking on you. Now, with our generation, you don't even have to go to school anymore. You have Twitter, you have social media. Like, I look at my little sister's generation, and they will post any thought on their mind. And you know what they say? At least for me, it's a real spiritual warfare out there. It's so easy to tell people around you the negative things that you see. It's the first thing that's going to come to mind. It takes a real humble soul to point out the positives. You're going to hear way more negatives. You're going to see a lot more reactions to negatives than you are to positives. And it's hard to really build that up, believe in yourself. But when you actually see somebody who's achieving something and you realize this person is no different than me. Like when I was coming up in broadcasting school, Dre, like I would go to these events, Chael Sonnen's right there. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been watching this dude, Ray Steffo. You know what I mean? Valentina Shevchenko. All these huge names. And I'm right next to him, calling into World Series of Fighting, saying, hey, I'm in broadcasting school. Can I come to the casino, cover an event? And then it goes from there. And you kind of work your way in and you realize what these people are doing that makes them so special. It's a daily grind. There is no room for you to be like, hey, I'm going to take today off. It's grind day after day. And then what happens is you actually start seeing yourself in a positive light. So you're at the gym, right? When did you actually start seeing the positive side? Because it is not easy. Anyone that does mixed martial arts training, first couple of weeks, the first year, it is not easy. When did you actually start believing in yourself again? What did that feel like? And well, answer that before I get to the next part of this story.
I will say I didn't start believing in I always knew I could fight. When I was not necessarily banned, but like they put me, Tennessee made it so hard for me to fight for 3 years straight, and I was just in the gym just grinding. And every time we would cross train with a lot of people would bring like their 35ers in, and they would be like, these guys are the top dogs right now. Like they are the champions. They're ranked number one. They're on UFC watch, they're on Bellator watch, they're on blah, blah, blah watch. And then they would bring them to me. And then, we would spar and stuff. And I'd get the best of them. Like, it was like, dude, you have to fight someone. Like, you can't, like, this is not fair. It's like someone as good as you is, this way. I will say I didn't start feeling like I was that good until, like, my third or fourth pro fight.
Your third or fourth pro fight? Okay, so, wow, that actually brings me back a step on the psyche that I kind of did thinking about how this worked out. This kind of switches a lot of things up. Over the years, interviewing all these fighters, like at one point I did a show with James McSweeney, right? If you guys remember season 10 of The Ultimate Fighter, Kimbo Slice, Brendan Schaub, Roy Nelson, all the big names on that season of Ultimate Fighter. He didn't even realize what a big moment he was in to step towards his career. Now, early on in your amateur career, let me bring up your tapology here. Early on, so you had 2 amateur fights. Then you went in there and you said your 4th fight with Chris Ocon or Ned Spears?
I'll probably say Ned Spears. Chris Ocon's the one that actually like switched it all around and be like, because like if anybody watches that fight, like there's not a point where he is like dogging me. Like I'm actually pressuring him and dogging him, and there's a moment in that fight where you see me stop wanting it anymore. Like I had self-sabotage mid-fight, and it cringes me every time I see it. But Ned Spears was that fight where I was like, okay, I'm putting this shit together and I'm getting everything back that people were saying about me.
Perfect, right? So after your fight with Chris Ocon, a year later, almost to the day, you returned to the cage to fight Ned Spears at Valor Fighting Challenge 53. You get the win in the first round via choke at the 1 minute mark. This was a year later. What changed? You said this was the moment you started believing yourself. What changed between, waking up, like what changed physically and mentally for you to start believing yourself? Because this is a big moment in your life, whether you don't really realize it right now. This was a turning point, as you're saying. This is when you started believing yourself. What changed? What did you do differently?
Well, this was the first time I changed. So there's another fight where I hit another level, and it was like, oh, I am that dude. So this fight, after Ocon, like I saw myself sabotage. I was like, ever again, if I'm going out, you're going to have to take me out. Like you have to choke me out. You have to catch me with something. That's the only way I'm going out. So what my coaches and teammates did, and what I told everybody to do is like, if I quit, you don't stop me. Like I want you to hurt me. And it was a mindset change of like I cannot back up anymore. I can't do this anymore. And my coach was like, you're too good to be doing this. Like you were self-sabotaging. We did a lot of mental skills training for all our fighters. We still do it now, but back then, like we had a class, we would train and then we would take an hour and we would do mental skill stuff and we would work through it, and we would have certain rounds where you would have to dig deep mentally and stuff like that. We did long sparring rounds with no breaks. Like it was a lot.
The
We
Shark
sparred for
Tank,
like,
they call it, right? Just one
well,
after another, fresh fighter coming in after you. GSP talks
yeah,
a lot about the moment in his career where he actually needed the mental help alongside to believe in himself. And you look back then and you see these fighters, Chuck Liddell, Vanderlei, GSP, and they all struggle. We all struggle with the mental side of it. You could be training nonstop in anything, but if you're going to work and you're just a robot and you're not mentally there, happy, you're not the best version of yourself. That's a huge part that goes into it. And somebody like you're getting ready for these fights, but you're not just going into fight. It's not just, hey, I'm ready to fight. You have to do a lot more to be able to fight, correct? What are you going through? Because, that's a huge moment in your career, but these 4 fights, the athletic commission and all that, what are they putting you through as being a fighter, I guess they would say, with not a disability, but I interviewed Nick Newell. He had one arm. He has one arm. He's from actually here in my state. He lives about 10 minutes away from me, Nick Newell.
yeah.
He has one arm. He got the opportunity to fight in Dana White's Contender Series, but his story since childhood and the battles he had to go through and the adversity.
Yeah,
What was that like for
we've had
you?
conversations before. Yeah, me and him actually have talked before, so he kind of helped me out a little bit. So yeah.
So what information did he give you? Because I'm sure it's a lot. Because I'm like, listen, let's go back to your topology really quick. It seems like you're actually having a lot of issues more now, right, than you were before in the past with the athletic commission. I mean, were they not as strict back then, or are they seeing you actually taking it serious, higher competition? Um, say for instance, they're probably taking into consideration if you get poked in the eye, right? Like, what do you have to put down to show them I am just as good as anyone else with or without one of my eyes? Well, like, what kind of battle and fight goes
Yeah,
into that?
actually, it's not a fight anymore. All the commissions are letting it go because they see that I have 17 pro fights, and they've seen film on me. They've seen things. They see me train like, and it's not like I go to a regular eye doctor. I go to an actual specialist in South Carolina with the fight doctors down there at Revolution's gym. They've helped me out so much. They helped out the gym so much. They've actually vouched for me. It's like, no, this dude's
Oh
the
wow.
real deal. It's like he can still do it. So it's like Tennessee. Once Tennessee let me go, Tennessee was like, "Oh, bet, just let this guy go because he's just running through people." Now it's not even the commissions that are saying no to me. It's these weak ass fighters now. Like, it's these pampered ass fighters that are quick to say, "Well, you fight cans, but like, I don't want to fight you. Why not?" Well, I'll fight you, but let me get like a different type of contract, or let me miss weight, and if I beat you, you suck. It's like, yeah, but you can cheat and miss weight, and I have to take it on the chin. Not only am I giving you like I'm handicapping myself by saying I can beat you with one eye, you're sitting there saying, "Well, I can be a fat shit and then not do my part professionally." So
How
it's not the commissions anymore. More states are like willingly to let me go now. I think the only state that was like saying no, and that was Connecticut, but they were like, "Yeah, we just fumbled the paperwork. That's all that was." So it wasn't even nothing like that. It's mostly these fighters now who want to be fast tracked to Dana White Contender Series, who miss the weight, but they want to fight easy fighters. And when you see me, no one wants to fight me. I honestly believe I'm the boogeyman of the 35 division because I fought John Sweeney. Me and John Sweeney will tell you straight up. He's like, he even has an interview said that, "Hey, I know I have to get Dre out. I have to violently knock him out," which means he knows he has to get me out because if not, it's a long night for him. It's a long night for him. Jose Johnson, he was like, "I'm gonna knock him out." He could not do it. I broke him third round. Wrestle fucked him for 5 minutes straight. Second round, he beat me. First round, I took it. So like, and then hell, even Cody Durden even says that like I was his toughest fight outside the UFC circuit. So I've had people on the contender series just like, "Nah, I don't want to fight him." Robbie Ring, he went on the contender series. I called him out for 2 years straight. No one said anything. He didn't say nothing. Um, a lot of people don't want to fight me. A lot of people. I sat at the number one spot in the state of Tennessee for years, and no one said anything. I'm still sitting at number two.
you are at
No
number
one said
2. That is
anything.
correct. You are at number
Yeah,
2 for the bantamweight. Yep.
yeah, no one's saying anything. Even these guys like, "Oh, well, I'm looking for somebody." And when my name gets passed around, it's like, "Oh, well, let's lowball him and give him like low amount of money because if I want to beat him, this is gonna be good for me." It's like, no, you got to give me the money because you need me to look. You need me to make yourself look good. Period. So I don't think there's ever been a fight where like I've been absolutely dogged. Like you, there's not. It's like you can't not do that. Like you miss weight. Most people who beat me are people that miss weight, or most people who beat me is because I've done something to sabotage myself. But that was with the Cody Durden fight, and that was John Sweeney. Jose Johnson's fight, I wholeheartedly believe, and I'll watch that film and tell everybody till I'm blue in the face. I beat that dude. I beat him. 100% beat him. I did him worse than Damon Blackshear did to him. I done him worse than anybody else he's ever been around. There's a reason why they don't talk about me whenever they fight. There's a reason why Cody Durden's fight against me is not aired. There's a reason why Jose Johnson's fight with me is not aired. And it ain't like they ain't got the film of it. Everybody has film of it, but nobody wants to talk about me. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why. But at this point, I have to chalk it up to be like, I am the boogeyman. I am that person that no one wants to face because they know it's hell. And I tell every single person that I fight, it's like, you're gonna fight me. I am going to bring you to hell with me, and you're not gonna like it. I've been through hell with my eye. I've been through hell with commission. You have no idea what type of hell I've been through.
You bring up something really important here. A lot of fighters will try to dodge the actual good fighters to make their record seem a little bit better. I remember a long time ago, Thomas Almeida was called out for this. I think he was a featherweight in the UFC, featherweight or a bantamweight, Thomas Almeida, and they looked into his career and a lot of the fighters they were trying to dish on. But you can't say that about a lot of the up and coming fighters with records inside the circuits, because at any point in time, a fighter that you thought was this version of themselves is completely different by a year later. As you were saying,
Yep.
I didn't start believing in myself till, a year after an event occurred in my life from a fight. Here on the East Coast, what I've seen a lot are fighters going in there, they're taking fights, they're trying to do what you're saying, get the edge, couple pounds overweight, whatever, let it slide. I get the win. That's all they're going to see on it. Then it looks good. I'm going to get into the Dana White Contender Series. Now, and I really hope the East Coast, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Mass, does not give me a hard time about this. I've brought it up before. You get to the Dana White Contender Series, and you don't do that well because of that. Now, you take a fighter like yourself. I've interviewed a lot of fighters that put themselves through a lot of difficult fights. And what happens is they're not getting the finishes, the submissions, the knockouts. It's a good, long fight. When you go to a Muay Thai fight and you see these back and forth, you hear every punch, the crowd completely quiet the whole time. You're seeing a decision fight on paper is different when you're ringside, watch there in the moment. Fighters like you doing what you do with the difficulty that people are looking upon you, but yet making it easier for themselves as they go on. I actually heard a commentator say that there's actually people who try to eye poke you. Have you had opponents try to eye poke you in the past?
Jose Johnson did. Jose Johnson did. My second round, he eye poked me several times. The referee told him, "Hey, close your hands," and he did it. And he poked me in my good one. I even told him, and it's on camera. Like it's the audio is there. It's like, dude, if you're gonna poke me in my bad eye. Like, I don't care if you're wanting out. I don't care. But like, no. And the problem with the fight, the problem with the whole freaking MMA scene now, and I'm gonna totally chalk this up to Conor McGregor and all those other idiots who just make it to where it's influencers. It's you want people highlight reels. That's all it is. It's all highlight reels and marketing. Oh, this guy does something fancy. Oh, let's see if we can get this guy in here. Let's do this. Or this guy is managed by this person. Oh, this guy trains with all these other people. And I don't mean this the wrong way, and I'm sorry if it does come out like I'm about to shit on somebody, but look at Mitch Raposo. Rich Raposo, he fights up there in New England. They've only brought like a couple people from the South up there to showcase anything. But like, I was like, hey, I'm ready to go. CFFC wanted me to come up there. Like, I'll do it. I'll come up there. We'll fight. But like, you give these guys multiple chances, and they show that they can't make it happen. And again, I respect the shit out of Mitch Raposo, so I'm not knocking him, but eventually everybody's got to stop looking at, oh well, this person trains with Aljo, they train with blah blah blah. Get you some of these guys that are freaking hungry, that want to fight, not these people who like, oh, I train with, Sean Strickland, I train with blah blah blah, I train with all these guys. Get you somebody who is about that life, that will show you like this is a fighter. Otherwise, it's just gonna be WWE all over again, and that's what UFC has came down. People want to. It's all that's all it is. It's marketing. Videos of you flying there, need all those things. I have flying knees, I have finishes, I have divisions, I have the whole title match, and I have a story to tell. Who the hell would not want to market me? Like, how would you not want to market somebody like me? That doesn't make sense to me. So, like, Contender Series, like, well, you don't have enough finishes. You sign people who have losing records, who come off losses to come over there. Like, or you tell somebody, oh, you got to fight tough competition, but you let them fight a bum, they knock the person out, and next thing you know, okay, yep, you can come back. It's like, you're not doing anything. You didn't do anything. You just gave them what they wanted. So what's the difference between them and me?
This is what I would kind of compare it to. Picture yourself as a sports gambler, right? You see these fighters in there, they're doing these flashy moves at, the local shows against their opponents that they have, picked out for them. When you get higher up, imagine being a gambler. You make a bet on a game, this one's going to win. You start getting a little better.
Mm-hmm.
You start making some parlays. You start stacking them, try to see how good you are. It's a lot harder at a higher level. When you start stacking, I'm going to pick this one, I'm going to pick that one. It's not going to work out for a lot of these fighters that you see. Oh, I train with this one, I could do the spin moves. But these are the people, this day and age, that the UFC is going to promote because of people like Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and her attitude. Any kind of publicity is good publicity. But at this point in your career, you got to be so sick and tired of it. And you just want your shot. And the way I see it, it doesn't matter what promotion you fight for. If you're going in there and you're getting ready for a fight, you're getting out of bed motivated every morning. Your story is building something very special to teach somebody else. However, on the dark side of things, they want the WWE now inside these big organizations. Now, you recently just signed with Bellator, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When that happens,
2-fight deal with Bellator.
They just brought over from PFL and Bellator. They have an insane roster. You look at that. I remember I have the photo right here. Dre, I got the photo right here. I'm gonna prove a really big point right now to everybody. I have this poster right here. This was the proving point. All right, Benson Henderson, former UFC champion, gets signed to Bellator. He goes in there against the champ for Bellator, Andrei Korshkov. No one really knows who Andrei Korshkov is. Dre, I was there at this event. Everyone was expecting, hey, former UFC champion comes over to Bellator. They're handing him the belt. Korshkov said, hold on. Remember my name. Remember my name after this. I've never seen Benson Henderson in such a situation where his opposition made him look like he was the lower level. This says a lot about the PFL, Bellator, these guys over at BKFC that you haven't heard of. Even the older vets, they've had 40 fights, but now you're hearing about them, right? What does it mean for you to be a part of Bellator? And what are you going to really try to do in this next year? Maybe Bellator is not the end goal. Maybe UFC is not the end goal. Maybe BKFC, maybe this one or that. What's the year goal for you? Because right now, with your story and the things that you have to go through to this moment in your life, just like your father, Dre, you are making a legacy. Not only are your children watching at this moment in time, this is a very important moment in time, historic moment in time, especially for MMA fans, to watch these up-and-coming fighters that are number 2 in the entire state for their weight class, like Dre is. These are the fighters you want to be following. These are the real stories. This isn't the fighters that get glitter thrown on them, that get all the likes and making all these crazy videos of them making jokes or ragging on other people. This is the real deal. You guys have seen the people I've picked out of the woodwork before they were in the UFC. Most recently, Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, just
Yep.
Bilal Muhammad, another one. I just re-uploaded one of our old podcasts. There's so many. Kobe Covington. Kobe Covington. There's so many. These are the stories that I bring here on this platform that are important. And at this moment in the interview, I want you guys to really pay attention to where Dre goes with this. Because now that we've painted the picture, I want you to kind of collect the inspiration that Dre has right now. We are halfway through 2024, Dre. Things are really looking up for you. You could say, maybe you might not realize it right now. You're in the middle of the chaos, trying to sit there. Everything's on fire, but you are as calm as water. What is your plan? With all the outside noise, the social media, just with what you have made for yourselves, the platform, the steps that you are building, the children that you have, the father and his story and your story. This is history. Dre, I'm literally getting the chills right now. These are the moments that we live for in mixed martial arts. What is your vision? Not just for the next 3 years or the 6 months. Where do you want to be by the beginning of next year? Right now, with Bellator out of the picture, don't even bring up where you want to be, but what you want to be and what your story means as the legacy that you bring forth. What is the projectile of where you're trying to go now that you have finally got to a place where you never thought at 17, when you're on the border of Monroe, Loudoun County, on Reed Spring Road. Right now, if you go back in your head and you think of that moment in your cousin crying and you trying to calm everybody down, and you fast forward like it's the butterfly effect, and you've done everything right, positive. You've put outside all the negative thoughts. It's spiritual warfare out there. One thing I've realized about you is that you are definitely a spiritual person. Where are you spiritually right now headed?
Spiritually, still heading towards fighting. Like I've always fought. I've always fought, and I've always found a way to make things happen. And I've always had people around me to help make sure that I stay on track. My legacy that I'm going to leave is obviously it's going to be inspirational, but I don't think it's going to be as like fairy tale as everybody makes it out to be. I believe it's going to be a giant middle finger to anybody who tells you no, and that's how it has to be. Like for me to be told no, and then watch UFC sign a guy who has one eye, who is blind, it's a slap in my face. And to know about me and to know that my team exists and you've been to the gym, you've watched me spar, you see me do these things, and it's just a big nah. F you, Dre. We don't need you right now. You're not as good as we want you. You're not as good as everybody else around you. So my legacy to my kids, and my kids go through this crap where like, well, I'm not gonna be as good as everybody. And I have literally told my kids, I've literally told them, fuck them. Do your shit anyways. Fuck them. Let them talk. They're gonna talk. Talk louder, and then back your shit up. I've told all three. I told all three of my boys that. I've told my wife that. She comes home, tells me about her job and how they treat her. It's like fuck them. Do your shit. Go there, do your job. Fuck them. At the gym that we train at, that's how we do things. Like, hey, you're a fighter. Fuck them. They're gonna do some shady shit. Fuck them. They're gonna try to cheat you out of money. You don't have to play ball with them. So that's what happened when I was supposed to fight the trail. They did some fuck shit with the contracts and everything else. My legacy is much more important than beating my chest. sitting there saying I can beat you. I can beat you so many different ways, but I can beat you in a mental way, in a spiritual way, because you're not going to corrupt my spirit. I'm going to tell you fuck you, and you go do something else about it. You get your shit together and we fight. So right now, where I want to be, I would love to have a contender shot and then beat somebody up, get my spot. Hell, even if I don't get my spot, just get there and be like, I did it. Because what's going to happen is, and it happens every single time, people are going to talk about me, period. Win, lose, or draw, you're going to talk about me. And it's going to be like, why the hell did you guys wait so long to get this guy here? And how I just approach everything is just saying, fuck it. You have to do it. You're going to do it. There's no answers or buts with it for me no more. Fuck it. You don't want to give me a shot? Fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make as much noise as possible.
Is
And that's
that
how I
is
live
that
it.
what you're
Funny.
aiming for? You want you are number 2 in Tennessee. You deserve a shot at Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. I've seen a lot of people get their shots on Ultimate Fighter, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series.
I've watched people who've got shots at 135. I was like, I would absolutely ragdoll them. I've watched people who get shot. I have applied for the Ultimate Fighter when they had bantamweights on there. I applied and I had the biggest record on there, and I got passed up. Why? I have no idea, but they let people like Dustin Lampros and again, I respect the guy again, Mitch Raposo, all those guys want to get on that show. And it's like I had better records than them. At that point, I was like 10-5. Like like I had a good record. Like I
Mitch
was coming off a
Raposo
win. I had
just
the
got
dominant win.
signed to UFC 303. Another fighter that I've watched come up over the years here on the East Coast, young gun, Joe
Yeah.
Giannetti, who's fighting tomorrow for Cage Titans as well, getting the Ultimate Fighter, winning the Ultimate Fighter, getting to the octagon, having a lackluster performance. I interviewed Rosendo Sanchez, DC Habib's striking coach, during that season, and you could get to that point, but when it's time to shine, a lot
You
of these
literally gotta
fighters
say
from the
fuck
East
it.
Coast, they
And a
just
lot of
don't
the guys
shine for some reason.
they because they can't say fuck it and go. They get caught up in like, oh shit, I made it to UFC, and they all change. Like you can look at their post from the moment that they're going up to UFC, like pre UFC, they make it to UFC, and then you look at post UFC. It's three different people. It goes from like I'm hungry to like I'm the shit to like, oh, I gotta have a redemption stage. There should have been a redemption stage. You should have been that person. You should have kept that same energy
I
going into
remember
UFC, staying in the UFC, and leaving. So like these fighters now, they have that F it button. They're like, I don't care. It's like, oh, I'm flash, I made it, blah blah blah. It's like, no, fuck that. You gotta go. You know how many people are sitting on the sideline? You know how many people are chomping at the bit, who are killing themselves, who are away from their families, trying to get to where you are, and you're gonna squander that, and you're gonna call these people. No, it's fucked up, and I don't like that. And
I always say
it's one
somebody
of
is
those.
next in line for that position that you want. What is holding you back from it being you, right? I remember that you bring that up. I remember Rafion Stotts. He came up here to the East Coast to fight a huge upcoming name, Dennis Paiva, and he got slaughtered in this fight. It was the moment he was supposed to get signed to the UFC. Rafion Stotts flew right up. Mallory Martin, she was another one that they flew up. And you see the competition level from the East Coast, and then what happens there in these moments. And I never thought of it the way that you did, but it makes a lot of sense. I'm not somebody to say what you're saying, but I kind of see what you're saying from, the 10 years that I've been covering the sport ringside and having, up and comers and some successful, some unsuccessful, making it to the UFC and making it at the top. You make a really good point there. And then you also bring up the UFC signing somebody that's blind in one eye. Am I thinking of the Dagestani fighter? Or is that who
Yeah.
you're bringing up?
Yeah, the one Dagestani that cannot wrestle. That's the
Okay.
craziest shit I've
This
ever
is
heard
a
in my
huge
life.
issue. I've seen, Greg Hardy, I posted on my YouTube today how he just got knocked out again. And I say he's in purgatory. He's in hell paying for, what he's done. He got a shot in the UFC. And then when he got the taste of the real level, he started getting knocked out. With everything going on with that fighter, you know, Greg Hardy beating a woman, getting signed to the UFC. The fighter you're talking about, I've watched a video where there's a couple kissing on an escalator in
Yep.
front of him, and he
Yep.
attacks
He,
them. He
he beats the
attacks
crap
them.
out of them. He has jujitsu videos where he stomps people. Like he legit stomps people that are like going for like leg locks. Like it's a jujitsu competition. Of course they're gonna do it. He's legit stomping people. He's kicking people. Oh, he's got a bad attitude. But to me, it's like that's what you have to be now. You have to be a villain. You have to be that heel type person. So
The
yeah,
saddest part, though, Dre,
it's
unlike Colby Covington, this person, him and Greg Hardy are not playing a part. They're not designing their villain. They're actually bad people to have done. And you see it all NFL not allowing Greg Hardy. This person I would not allow my sister to date. You know what I mean? Like then
mhm.
Dana White is saying, they deserve a spot more than you, but yet you're actually living a good life. People look at the villains, they look at the negativity, like I was bringing up. This is what they're thriving on. And when you bring up your legacy and just the fairy tale, no, it's not a fairy tale, it's me giving the middle finger. But that is so twisted, right, Trey? Because it's the villains that are giving their middle finger and they're getting gold thrown at them for their disgusting actions. These are not good people. These are not the best fighters in the world, even as you're saying.
Be- yeah, because the sport is a direct relation. It's a mirror that's reflected onto the world that we see now. That's 100% exactly what it is. It's a reflection of the world. The world loves a villain because why you're going to see that either you want to see that person win or you're going to see that person lose, but you're going to tune in to watch it. We've been doing it since the dawn of time. There's always been a good person, there's always been an evil person. That's what we're always been drawn to. Good always triumphs evil. However, in this new day and age with these like, people who don't want to stand up for themselves, they want to cry about everything, they don't want to be tough, they want everything handed to them. It's more so giving that villain more of a voice. It's more so saying, "Oh, I can agree with this. Oh, I can understand this." So, like growing up as a kid, you would side with Batman, you would side with Superman, Spider-Man, you would side with superheroes because you're like, "Oh, they're saving the world, right?" Well, now that we get older and we all go through our own personal traumas and shit like that,
We're
you start
relating more to
siding
the
with the
Joker
villain.
movies, right?
Yeah, because now you're like, oh shit, that makes sense. When it's really not. You never sat that person down. It's like, you can't be this way. You never tried to humanize that person. You more so was just like, it's okay that you're this way. And I don't do that. I like everybody at the gym, we know everybody has their traumas. And I'm not knocking anybody's traumas. I'm not saying your trauma is low. I'm not saying it's not important. Your trauma is very important. But you have to work through your traumas. You can't sit there and just be like, well, my trauma is me. You're not your trauma. You're not your depression. You're not your mental health issues. There
Why
is a
change though if you're being rewarded for it this day and age? Like we're discussing, it's
I
sick.
get that. But that's what I'm saying. But that's the way it should be. But everybody's getting rewarded. Like you said about the kids. Kids are getting bullied all the time. And they're targeting the kid that's reporting getting bullied. Like, hey, my son's getting bullied. Well, I can't do nothing to your son because now this kid has issues. He has mom and dad issues. His dad's whooping him at home. Okay, well then go handle that. And then next thing you know, you have to handle that situation. And then now you're in trouble because you're trying to protect your own. It's all sports, this entertainment, and I'm not even gonna say sports. It's all relation of who can get the biggest dollar. That's villains. Villains gets the biggest money. The sports world needs an absolute hero to be like, this shit is wrong and we need to change it. But the problem is with our sport, with our entertainment, is that MMA is ruled by casuals and they're ruled by people who don't have that good morality. They don't have good morals at all. They don't know what it is like to be a fighter. They want to be a car salesman, a sleazy car salesman, and a business of violence. That's exactly what it is. Like gladiator times honor. Like, no, that you go back and watch any movie that has any gladiator in it, they all died with honor. Samurais died with honor. It's like, you beat me. I'm not gonna do anything corrupt, but I will meet you here, and whatever happens, happens. After that, you can take my head. They even perfume their heads. That's how much of respect they have for somebody they did not care for. I know you're going to kill me, but let me get it all nice and neat. Why? Because I respect you as an adversary, because I know I am going there to get my head cut off. The world is just going to. It's a lot. It's crazy.
It's right. It's perfect that you bring that up at this point in the interview, because the name of this podcast, one of the original MMA podcasts, number 14 of the top 50 MMA podcasts in 2024. For the past 5, this is the highest spot we've gotten so far over the years. Number 14 podcast. People may look at Pure Evil MMA going, these are going to be all the villains. But my slogan has always been, without evil, there is no purity. And the twist on that for the new listeners of Pure Evil MMA, my name is Eddie Valleco. So E for Eddie, V-I-L for Valleco, evil. In this sport, like you're saying, there's a lot of corruption. My slogan is, without evil, there is no purity. I'm trying to show people these kind of stories, your story, the stories out there that we should be giving the attention to, the stories that we should be tuning in to watch, the underdog that could easily say, F the world, that could easily, just say, screw it all, I don't care, not show up and be a father, not show up and be his son, abuse people, say the worst things to this one and that one. No, that is not what this is about. These are the stories. Without evil, there's no purity. This is the purest story you are going to get, that you're going to be able to relate to. A story that is building a legacy upon someone that I would want my children to watch on the television, not these villains that are posting the most disgusting, disturbing, even influencers out there. Dre, Sean Strickland got a lot of shit for beating up Sneeko, a very popular influencer. I had this to say about it. He was getting a lot of slack, right? I had this to say about it. This day and age, you're seeing Jake Paul call out Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, knocking these dudes out, right? You're getting all these influencers coming up thinking, oh, they can do it, I can do it, I can go in there, treat them however I want and get away with it. You're not getting Tyron Woodley against Jake Paul. You're getting a contract, a situation. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes. Sean Strickland said, all right, buddy, you're an influencer. You want to come in here and see what this is really like? He gave him a taste of what it's really like for people to think that they can go in there and disrespect an MMA fan and an MMA, a UFC champion, come out and be like, hey, check out this footage of me destroying. You could do this. You could make content over it. That's not reality. And Sean Strickland showed him that, and he got a lot of slack for it. But that's the hard truth. And that's what people are holding back from. Your story, you should be on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. You should be signed to the UFC because of what's really going on and the fighter who you truly are and the excitement that you bring, the stories that you bring. Nowadays, all you're seeing is the most vile things in entertainment. You go on Facebook, you're seeing the most insane thoughts, the meanest people. You're seeing shootings every day. You're seeing people watching videos of the most disturbing things, laughing, causing these disgusting situations. Dre, your story is maybe 1 in a million, but it's the 1 in a million that people need to pay more attention to and give more support to. It's so much easier to be negative than it is to be positive. Dre, what do you do before we end this interview? What is your day-to-day to get your spiritual energy where it needs to be the person you see yourself being. Maybe not a fairy tale in your head, but man, it truly is.
Been doing a lot of Bible reading, a lot of Bible researching and stuff like that. Helps me. It helps me do those things, and then I look all the warriors and stuff. Like every now and again, I post like stuff that old that I've heard, you know, Bible quotes and stuff like that. But I feel like that's what you need. I need to have some kind of positivity. I can't just be like, "Hey guys, look at me." Sometimes you have to relate to the people who they need a graphic, they need a visual, they need something, you know. And that's really what it is. You just read the book and you find out things. It's essentially what it is. Because this is the world's going to be. It's been like this time. Yeah, and you realize that it's just they're going with the flow. You're going to flow. It's ungoing. So being positive to somebody, regardless, if they mad, keep being kind to those people. But at the same time, don't give a. Um, well, my favorite things in the Bible is when Jesus went to he went to the temple, and the Pharisees and them, they were dealing in the temple, which is totally forbidden to not do that. And long story short, he ended up flipping the table. You know, guy doesn't. This dude, he flipped tables. He was everybody. You know, he did it because he did it because he shot the point. And people believe in the Bible, or they really just, or they believe in the Bible. The point of the story is that sometimes you have to do it. Your way is wrong. If you are not doing things that needs to be done. You're doing things that benefit you. You're not doing things that benefit everybody around you. So that's what from that story. And another story that I equate myself with, and I realized that I go through a lot of struggles because I the story of Jacob and Jacob wrestling with God, and that's how life is with me. I'm always with power. Why not me? Why not? And it's you're not. It's not. It's not your time yet. It's not that. But I need you to be as if Jesus is flipping tables in the temple. I need you to be sarcastic. I need you to be that person to literally just say, "If I'm going to do it anyways, and I'm going to show you this is the way it should be done." So a lot of Bible reading, lots of Bible researching, lots of old history looking and stuff like that. And a lot of it has to do with my family. So we deal with a lot of stuff in our own little household, but I try to teach my kids how to be spiritually sound. I try to teach everybody. Me and my wife do a good job of keeping everybody spiritually sane. Because we know this world, and we know how crappy this world is, but we can't let this younger generation give in to how crappy it is.
So important. And I want to say something before we end this interview. A lot of people don't find God until they're actually in the trenches. And as I was getting ready for this interview, Dre, I looked into your history, did a real deep dive, and I realized that you're a very spiritual person. And you actually have a lot of prayers and poems that mean a lot to you. And I just want to read something that I wrote that truly paints the picture of the fighter I believe you to be. In the kaleidoscope swirl of a 2024 fight night, under the unforgiving fights of the octagon, a father of 3 with a humble record of 10-7 steps into the cage. This isn't just another bout. It's a dance with destiny. As the crowd roars, echoes of Palm 144 ricochet in his mind. Praise be to the Lord, my rock, he mutters, feeling the rough canvas under his feet, the gloves tight around his fists. The words aren't just scripture, they're a mantra, a lifeline. They speak of hands trained for war, fingers for battle, a divine nod to every grueling hour spent honoring and honing his craft, every sacrifice he's made. His God is his fortress, as real as the chain-link fence that now surrounds him, a stronghold against the chaos of both the fight and life itself. This isn't just a fight. It's a pilgrimage, a testament to resilience. His God, his shield, stands with him, a refuge in the storm of fists and fury. And in this moment, the prayer becomes flesh, subduing the fears and the doubts that shadow his journey. The crowd fades. It's just him, his faith, and the fight ahead. A true warrior in the sacred, savage theater of mixed martial arts. And Dre, that is the image that I want people to see next time that you step into this cage and feel that energy and what that means, because we all go through these moments in life where we don't want to get up. We think it's going to be we're so far down. There's no way we can get up there. And we get to the surface and we're surrounded by crows. I remember when I was a child, I would walk to the bus stop and I would hear the crows and I would think they were laughing. The vultures just waiting over you. Meanwhile, you have the sun, you have the grass, you have your heart, your mind to create whatever you want around you and become whatever you want to be. But it comes with a lot of sacrifice. And only a true warrior can become humble with himself. And Dre, that is your story right now. No matter what label, what promotion, what fan you have or don't have. That is your story. That is your legacy right now, whether you realize it or not. And that is very special to somebody out there right now listening to your story. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to pray for you that as you move forward with your journey, as your father looks down on you and his legacy, and your children look up to you and see what's going on, and realize that the middle finger to everyone else is really just freedom and peace of mind when you're able to have the right energy around you. And that's what you've created in such a traumatizing and terrible situation that you had to go through, that a lot of people out here may have never, ever get to see. But we can all relate to the moments where we are at our lowest. And your story is one to follow, Dre. So with that being said, where can people find you on social media to follow along? Because I am so interested in seeing what happens with you. And like I said before, guys, I don't just have anybody on this podcast. I'm very specific about the stories, the research, and what excites me. And this is it right here. These are the most important stories you are going to hear. These are the real stories inside mixed martial arts. So Dre, where can people keep up with everything going on in your life and get by your side? Can you hear me, Dre?
I'm mostly on Facebook. Dre Miley. Yeah, so Dre Miley on Facebook. So Dre Miley on Facebook. I usually have like 2 pages. I think it's Dre Dragon on my page. On Twitter, Miley under Dre 5 or something like that. I'm also on Instagram too, where it's Dre Miley MMA 135. Yeah. Can you hear me? So, yeah. Um,
I'm gonna have to fix this one in the post right here. Let me try to get Dre back in here. Damn. Cuts out at the last second, right? Join call. Let's see if we can get Dre back up in here. Start call. Start call. Come on, Dre. Come back in here, bud. Right at the end. Ring the group. Here we go. See if we can get Dre back up in here. All right, we can't get Dre back in here with a good signal. But let me tell you guys where you guys can find Dre. On Twitter at Miley_Dre135. I'll be sharing it on my Twitter at XEvilEddieX. I really want to try to get him back up in here. Let's see if we can try this one more time for the live. Of course it cuts out at the end. Just my luck. Dre, can you hear me? Hey. Can you hear me, Dre? Dre. Let's see. Trying to get the close here. Dre, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. You cut out for a second there. Can you hear me clearly? All right, let me end this. I'm going to have to edit this in the post, but for the people joining live, there you go. That's Dre Miley, signed to Bellator, one of the most inspirational stories. Like I said, I dive deep into the people I have on this podcast, the real stories, because without purity, there's no evil, and without evil, there's no purity. So remember, guys, white knuckles to the end. Behave yourselves.
I don't know what's going on with this thing.
Will Park made it.